Hey everybody, how's it going? This is John Breeden. It is March 6th, 2020. It is Friday on the show. I am back for the first time in a week. I was out on Sunday night, and so I am now back. Long story short, I had a lot of college work I had to get done this week, so I was not able to find time to do a show to talk about California, the Auto Club 400. Just want to briefly go over the two races from this past weekend, and then I'll get into some of the news. So, the Auto Club 400 on Sunday was won by Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman winning his first race of the 2020 season and his second career Cup Series win. He won by 10 seconds over Kyle Busch, who finished in second. Kurt Busch was third, Chase Elliott was fourth, Brad Keselowski was fifth, Jimmy Johnson ended up finishing seventh, so 3 Hendrick cars there inside the top 7. And so I watched the first stage and then halfway through the second stage, and then, as I mentioned, I had a lot of work I needed to get done, and it just really got in the way this week. But anyway, so I did not actually see the entire Auto Club 400, but from what I did see, it was a very good race early on. Lots of good racing, 2 and 3 wide, lots of close corners racing, and I guess by the final stage, things had really calmed down, and as I mentioned, Alex Bowman won by 10 seconds over Kyle Busch, so these guys were very spread out towards the end, and obviously Alex Bowman looked really strong. Jimmy Johnson looked good as well. He led early in the race, and actually Jimmy's wife and his kids waved the green flag, so that was very nice. And he brought it home 7th for his last race at his home track. And Ryan Blaney also had a very good race car until he ran into problems late in the race. He ended up finishing 19th, and so that was the day there for Blaney. He's had very strong cars, but just not strong finishes. Well, I guess Daytona 500 he did finish second, but nonetheless, he had a great car this weekend as well. And I speculated the last time I did a show that the Hendrick cars, they had found something. And it showed last week, or I guess perhaps 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, when they were running very well. All 400 cars were in the top 10 at most points of the race. And even though they didn't get the finishes that they exactly wanted, they showed a lot of speed. And so I think this definitely proves that they're hitting on something. And I don't know what it is, but they're looking very strong right now, as well as the other Chevrolets. I mean, Kurt Busch finished in third. Tyler Reddick was 11th place. He had a very strong run. And so, yeah, these Hendrick guys and these Chevys, they're finally starting to hit on something and putting together good runs. And Alex Bowman, his first win of 2020. This is a big win for him because it is, in fact, contract year for Alex Bowman. And I think it's safe to say, as strong as Hendrick is running so far this year, and the fact that Alex Bowman already has a win in 2020, I did not expect him to win this early in the year. I don't think anybody did. But he, in fact, won. And so I have a feeling that he may be in contention for more wins later in the year, which would obviously solidify a spot at Hendrick in 2021. So it was a great race for Alex Bowman and the Hendrick guys, and Kyle Busch actually came back to finish second place. He did not have a Kyle Busch style race throughout the afternoon. I think he was up in like 10th place at one point. I think that's about as high as he got. And then it looks like he made his way through the field. Like I said, I did not see the final stage, so I don't exactly know how Kyle got there, but he did in fact finish second. And so the Xfinity race, which was on Saturday, was won by Harrison Burton. And this was a big surprise to me because I did not think Harrison Burton was going to win this early in the 2020 season, but he in fact did, and he held off Riley Herbst, who was running back in second, and Chase Briscoe. And Riley Herbst showed a lot of strength, and it looks like these Joe Gibbs guys, they're not, this isn't a layoff year, so to speak, for them. They are up on the wheel, and they're getting after it. These two rookies are. So Harrison Burton looked very good. He passed Chase Briscoe with about, I think, like 34, 35 laps to go. They went into turn one, and Briscoe got kind of loose, and Burton made the pass underneath him. He had been chasing him there for a couple of laps, and he was able to get by. So yeah, Harrison Burton, 19 years old, in just his 12th Xfinity start, won on Saturday. So the Joe Gibbs rookies looked very strong in that race. So that is my Auto Club review. And there has been a lot of news this week, and it involves Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart is back, everybody. Tony Stewart has decided to return to NASCAR behind the wheel of the Xfinity car, and he is set to return July 4th at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where the Xfinity Series will in fact be running for the first time the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. And so it'll be interesting to see how well Tony Stewart does. And he's been out of a car for a long time. I don't think he's actually been in this new Xfinity car, so it will be interesting to see how he does. I believe the last time he was in an Xfinity car would have been 2013 at Daytona, where he won. And if you remember that one, that was the one where Kyle Larson's car got launched into the catch fence coming to the checkered flag. Tony Stewart did win that race, and I believe that to be his last Xfinity Series start. But he's coming back, and we'll see how he does. Tony Stewart's back, everybody. And so I presume he's just going to kind of do a Dale Earnhardt Jr. schedule where, he runs one Xfinity race a year until I guess he gets tired of it. Or perhaps this is just a one-off because it is a historic race, in fact, because it is the first time they are racing the Indianapolis road course. So that's the update there. And also reported yesterday was the 2021 Busch Clash update. So the Busch Clash, everybody, will in fact be a night race, once again, at Daytona, but it is under the lights on a Tuesday night, the Daytona Road Course. They will be running the Daytona Road Course for the Busch Clash Tuesday, February 9th. This is from NASCAR.com. Less than a month after Denny Hamlin celebrated his Daytona 500 crown in the sport's most famous victory lane, Daytona International Speedway has announced adjustments to the traditional 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season opener race weekend, changing the course of the popular Busch Clash race and condensing the schedules of Daytona Speed Weeks. Next year, the annual Busch Clash will kick off on the on-track action under the lights Tuesday, February 9th, and instead of racing on the Daytona 2.5-mile high banks, stock cars will compete on the track's road course for the first time. That is Holly Kane at NASCAR.com. So this is an interesting change. Obviously, NASCAR has never raced on the Daytona road course. So the reception I saw, at least on Twitter, which you should really trust Twitter, right? But the reception I saw on Twitter was positive. I think a lot of people actually like this change. I'm not so sure about doing it on a Tuesday night, though. I really don't understand that at all. But They are, in fact, doing it on a Tuesday night. And the Daytona Road Course, I mean, listen, I've never been much of a road course guy. I think I got into the sport in 2005, and I think I kind of grew up in the NASCAR fandom of road courses road courses suck. And, over the years, the past couple of years, road courses have, some of them, been the best races of the year. I mean, if you look at, all the crazy finishes we've seen at Watkins Glen and the Roval, they've been some of the best races. So, I don't know if this is the right decision or not. I mean, we're obviously going to have to see. It is something different, obviously, and NASCAR likes to try different things to try and, I guess, attract new viewers. And I just don't think, though, if the goal here is to attract new viewers, I just don't think making changes to the schedule is something, something that's going to attract new fans. You need something else. And in fact, I had an epiphany. I was thinking this week about, I was thinking last night about this change. And obviously, over the past couple of years, NASCAR has tried to, make NASCAR interesting to outside viewers and try to grab new fans, right? And so, it's no secret that, the past couple of years, the interest in NASCAR and the amount of viewers watching and attendance has drastically decreased over the years. And there are things to blame for that. I mean, I think some of the big problems I think I hear about are the point system and the cars, the newer cars. Some of the older fans, they don't like the newer cars, and so they're not watching anymore. Or they don't like how the point system is, and they don't watch anymore. And to a degree, some of it is valid. They're valid points. But I think the thing I was thinking about, which, I mean, who knows if this is going to happen, but the hottest point in NASCAR, I mean, I guess you could argue this, but to me, the hottest point in NASCAR, like when NASCAR was at their highest point, was around 1995 through about 1999, early 2000. Really the mid to late 90s. That's where they were, like, hottest. And, to a degree, they were also very hot in, like, 2005, 2006. But really, around the mid-90s. And do you know who the two biggest stars in the sport were during that time? Well, there was Dale Earnhardt and there was Jeff Gordon. And they were the two biggest stars in the sport. Dale Earnhardt was a well-accomplished driver at that point. He was a 7-time champion. He was the Intimidator, and, I mean, he was, no question, the biggest star in the sport. And Jeff Gordon came along a few years before that, and he was a rising star. And through the mid-90s, Jeff Gordon won 3 championships. And so, if you've seen the documentary, it's called Unrivaled, Earnhardt versus Gordon. It aired on FS1. And if you watch it, you'll understand how big their rivalry was. I mean, every single week on the track, it was Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon going at it on the track. Some weeks Earnhardt would win, some weeks Gordon would win. But those two were the two big stars. And, they didn't have like a rivalry like they would get out and fight or anything. But there was definitely an edge between those two on and to a degree off the racetrack. And that it really helped the sport out. It really brought the sport up to its highest point in history. And Jeff Gordon, broke through into the mainstream. And he became a huge superstar because of it. And Dale Earnhardt as well. And so, you always hear how much Jeff Gordon paved the way for the younger guys. And he was the younger guy in the 90s who, the younger drivers coming up through the ranks, they looked up to. And, Jeff paved the way for those guys. But, not only did he do that, he was, like I said, the first guy to really break through into the mainstream as a NASCAR driver. So my point with all of this is, I went to Bristol in August last year, and I figured out then, ultimately, who the two biggest stars in NASCAR are. And I'm not talking about driving ability. I'm talking about as far as fan interest, whether you love them or hate them. The two biggest stars in NASCAR are Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. Okay? When I went to Bristol in August, the two loudest reactions for the driver introductions were Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. Fans were going crazy for Chase Elliott. They loved Chase Elliott, and they hated Kyle Busch. And in fact, the boos for Kyle Busch were louder than the cheers for Chase Elliott. So you could arguably say, whatever you think of Kyle Busch, when he comes out on the driver intro stage, or if he's celebrating, doing burnouts on the front stretch, the fans see him as a superstar. And so my point in all of this is, what NASCAR needs to gain popularity is a good rivalry. And if you can get Kyle Busch, which Kyle Busch right now, he's 34 years old, going on 35 this year. He's a two-time champion. He's right in his prime. He's in the prime of his career. If you can get Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott, who Chase Elliott is obviously the rising star and is expected to be, win a lot of races and championships in the future. And if you can get them to week in and week out, go back and forth. Kyle wins one week, Chase wins the next. If that were to happen, if these two guys at some point are not only the two most, the two biggest stars in the sport, but the two best drivers in the sport, because back in the mid and late 90s, the best two drivers were, in fact, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. And so, if you were to get Kyle Busch to be battling with Chase Elliott week in and week out, it would build this rivalry. And, they don't, if they get out and fight with each other, that's, that's all good and well, but, you don't really need that. My point with a rivalry is these two guys just need to be the top two guys. And, listen, NASCAR isn't professional wrestling. You can't script it. You can't decide, who's the top guys. But my point is if this were to happen, then that would create, I can't say it would be as big as Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt, but it would be a big rivalry. You have the most popular guy versus, I don't think Kyle Busch the least popular driver, but you have a guy who, he likes to wear the black hat, so to speak. And so if those guys are to be battling every week and have 6 or 7 wins apiece, this would be huge. So again, I'm kind of rambling on here, but my point of all of this is, if we're able to have a rivalry like that, then it's going to attract new fans. I can almost guarantee it because of what happened with Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. Fans were split back in the 90s. Half of them loved Jeff, half of them loved Dale. And, it was probably the biggest rivalry in NASCAR. And so, it doesn't have to be Kyle Busch or Chase Elliott. It can be Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman, but the fans have to catch on. So really, and my other point to this is, NASCAR's making all these changes with the effort to attract new fans. And I just don't think, making the Busch Clash a road course, for example, it's not going to get new people to watch. Maybe it will. But, we've been through a lot of changes in NASCAR over the past, 6-7 years. And, fan interest, attendance, viewership, it continues to decline. So, we'll see. But hopefully, basically what I'm hoping for is a big two-man rivalry breaks out in the Cup Series. And two guys, they just go on a tear and they win, back and forth, and they're battling every week. That's my whole point in all of this. But nonetheless, yes, the Busch Clash, it's being changed to a road course, and it's on a Tuesday night. So there you go. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but that was my epiphany, everybody. We need a big rivalry in the sport. So there you go. All right, it's time for me to talk about Phoenix coming up this weekend. ISM Raceway, Phoenix, same thing. We have Xfinity racing on Saturday. Kyle Busch is, in fact, in the field, as well as Brad Keselowski. And I would pretty much say, Brad might give him a run for his money, but overall, I think Kyle is, he's going to win. And I think he has 11 wins at Phoenix in the Xfinity Series. It's something crazy. He has a ton of wins there, and I think Kyle's going to get it done, and he's just probably going to smoke them all day. So as far as the Xfinity Series guys goes, they're pretty much going to be racing for second all day long. Justin Allgaier, though, very good at Phoenix. I expect him to be strong throughout the day. I expect Harrison Burton to be strong throughout the day. I'm sure he'll be up there in the top 5, top 10, as well as Chase Briscoe. And, just watch for those guys. Justin Allgaier and Harrison Burton in particular. Maybe they could give Kyle a run for his money, but I don't think so. I think Kyle's just going to drive away with this thing on Saturday and win. So, there you go. And so Sunday, the Cup Series race from Phoenix. And, a lot of stories going into this weekend. Are the Hendrick cars going to be able to keep up the momentum? And obviously I'm saying yes, because, so far this year they've just shown a lot of strength. And the Penske guys as well, they've been very strong. Ryan Blaney has been in position every single week to get a win. At Daytona, obviously you knew what happened there at Daytona. The Las Vegas race, pit strategy didn't work out. California, he had a strong run all day and had problems late. And here's the deal, everybody. Ryan Blaney, if you don't remember last year, Ryan Blaney, in fact, finished second in the Phoenix spring race last year. So I am, in fact, predicting that Ryan Blaney will win this weekend in Phoenix. I think he's been knocking on the door every single week. And in fact, he just signed an extension with Team Penske that was, I think, announced earlier this morning. And so Blaney is back with Penske. And I think this weekend he's going to get a win. He's been knocking on the door. He's been looking very strong. I say Ryan Blaney goes to victory lane this weekend. Look out for all those Team Penske cars. They're often very good at Phoenix. Obviously, you can't count out Kevin Harvick. But, I don't see it with Harvick this year. I just think I think the Penske cars have really taken over as far as the stronger Ford team. And Harvick might be lost in the shuffle this year. We'll see what happens. I'm sure Harvick will get a win or two this year, but I feel like so far through these first 3 races, the strongest Ford team is definitely the Penske guys. And it's not the Stewart Haas guys like, it had been, the past 2 years. So that is my prediction. Ryan Blaney will win this Sunday at Phoenix. Finally break through and get that first win of 2020. All right, everybody, that is it. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at NASCAR Images, at John Breeden9, Twitter at John_R_Breeden. Make sure to like and subscribe at the channel. And that is it. I'll talk to you later.